Oh, g'day. My name is Ben Dunstan, and I'm from My Expert Building Consultant.
Here we go!
Real people, real community, real conversations.
Great to know you've tuned into this episode. Let me introduce Robert Dunstan, fondly known as Ben the Builder. Robert, aka Ben the Builder, is the founder and director of My Expert Building Consultant. My Expert Building Consultant was born from the success of Master Building Works Proprietary Limited, a family-owned business on the New South Wales Central Coast, specialising in designer luxury home construction and building consultancy services. Embracing the unusual and quirky, let Robert handle your building stress. Episode 6 of the podcast. Let me introduce your host, Craig Fisher. Okay, I'm with Robert Dunstan, aka Ben the Builder. Mate, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Yeah, welcome aboard, mate. So just tell us a bit about your story.
Nice to be here. Well, I was born and bred on a poultry farm in North Epping in 1954. And
Not so long ago?
Not so long ago. My father came back from a war somewhere. I'm actually a twin sister. So I was always interested in building, in the backyard, the bush carpenter, cubby houses and so forth.
Nice.
And, became a carpenter and joiner. I started my carpentry and joinery apprenticeship down in North Sydney in 1971.
So your love came from building tree houses and cubby houses, and passion begun from there?
Yep. The best thing our father ever did for us was nothing, actually. He showed us how to do it, and, the black thumbs and splinters, and was all part of the learning process.
So tell us a little bit about the apprenticeship.
Yeah, so it started off down North Sydney way on the high-rise residential apartment buildings. The first job you could see the Sydney Harbour Bridge from where we were.
Oh, wow.
And 1 week later, the Concorde jet flew over, so it was that, era.
That would have been spectacular.
Yeah, it was the first time it actually flew into Australia.
Oh, right. They're not around anymore, are they?
No, we had a fuel leakage problem and
that
one
was
caught on fire.
It
was only a simple matter, really, but they grounded the whole fleet, and that was the end of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about apprenticeship. So you started the apprenticeship, Concorde flew in, and you went to the top because you're a pretty successful building trade. But tell us a little bit about the journey from apprenticeship to, being the top of your game.
Okay, then, well, I've had a good cross-section of construction work. Ended up getting a start up in the Northern Territory, completing a gold mine up in Arnhem Land.
Oh, yeah? That would have been a great experience.
It was, very remote, and, had a pretty disciplined effort up there. The money was good. And then I had a contact in an Irish crew doing all the civil works around the Central Coast. We built a lot of the water treatment works and sewage treatment works.
All right.
Civil, projects to serve the people.
So you were the glue, part of the glue that holds the very fabric of society here on the Central Coast these days.
Yes. When you have a nice glass of water or go to the toilet, you can think of me and the Irish crew.
So tell me, I know you're a humble man, so I believe your beautiful wife just wanted to make mention of some awards. So let's get you to mention some of your track record, because I'd really like the viewers to hear that.
One of my apprentices in particular, out of 35 apprentice carpenter and joiners, was my middle-aged daughter, Jane. Yep.
Shout out to Jane.
Yeah, big shout out to Jane. She did so well. She ended up topping New South Wales in the apprenticeship awards, and also she was dux of the Ourimbah University.
Oh, chip off the old block, mate.
Chip off the old block, I'd say so myself. Yes, it was. So that was made me feel very proud.
Oh, you would have been very proud, as a father, as a mentor.
Yes, and now she's gone on in her 40 years of age and working for, a government department as a quality officer. And she just likes to help people.
Yeah, well, that'd be a bottomless pit of work, that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've also got a son?
Yes, my son also did his carpentry and joinery apprenticeship under his old man, the master, myself. And he's gone on to become a successful builder in his own right. that was very proud of
Very
him.
proud moment for you too,
Yes.
Dad. So two P's of the pod.
Yes. Yep. So
Yeah.
they're going to a contingency plan.
All right, so back to the Irish crew.
Yeah. So they're joyful guys to work with. They worked hard and played hard. Con O'Brien, the Black Irishman, was known to say when he got a little bit rough with his work, he'd say, "It's okay." He said, "It's a long way from Dublin. They won't see it from there."
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah, the great crew to work with, the Irishmen. They were great improvisers. If they had a need for a particular piece of timber or something, they didn't have it. I saw a bloke heading off into the bush with his axe one time. He came back, cut a sapling down, he used it as a prop. So,
that's up there for thinking, down there for dancing, isn't it?
great improvisers.
Absolutely. So from there you went on to building, because if we future pace now, I have fond memories of when I was a child and a younger man of yourself working with my father as
Yes.
well. Yeah. So I guess that's where we've got a bit of our history together.
Yeah.
So you just tell us a bit about, when you're in the building game with
Yeah,
that.
I really enjoyed the time together working with Al Fisher, Craig's dad. He's got a fantastic work ethic, and he pushes the team along nicely. Gets them cracking.
Yeah, he does. Absolutely, he does. Well, shout out to Dad. But I recall, if I'm not mistaken, you're the first that my father ever kind of let the reins off for himself.
Yes, I sense that.
Yeah,
he did. We had a great work ethic together, and
Absolutely, and I really feel that that's a real testament to you and your building and where you're going with your new business. So let's just talk about the new business. So
Thank you.
We've come through, we've gone to the top. You're at the top of your game now as a builder. You've come to the next job site. You're on the job site, and then.
Yeah, well, this particular job site on the Central Coast, I was engaged to initially as the project manager. Unfortunately, the developers got tangled up with a bodgy builder.
That they did.
They did, very bodgy. If someone asked them to pick a bad builder, they couldn't have done any better. I think they got the worst.
Got the gold medal for it, eh?
Got the gold medal for it. So, I helped them through the court process and, extracting as much money out of a bent system to help them on their way.
So tell us a little bit about that. So you're on the site engaged as the builder, and then from there you saw an opportunity with your new business. Is that kind of where that was born, or where it was forged?
That's right, Craig. Yes, I met a fellow building consultant, expert witnesses up from Sydney, who was also doing some other court work for the developers. And once I met the man and had a look at what he was doing, I definitely knew straight away that that's something I could do at the top of the game.
Yeah. It sounds like there's quite a big market for it now. The more you and I talk about it, and more than what I see and what I see in real estate, like it sounds like it just could be a bottomless pit of a bottomless pit of work.
It's funny you should say that, Craig.
Just come back a little bit. That's it. Funny you should say that.
A senior lawyer that I know, his father was a builder, and he said to a room full of builders, he said, "You always want to remember, lads," he said, "there's more builders go broke in good times than in bad times."
Oh, why is that?
Well, when there's lots of cream and things are great, bit of a party atmosphere, making plenty of money, you can drop your guard and think that it's going to keep coming and coming with minimal effort. However, when you get complacent and a bit comfortable,
the cycle repeats, right?
Cycle repeats.
Flush.
Yep.
Yeah. And then round we go again.
Yep.
So is there a lot of work born out of that for you? A lot of work born out of that for you? Like
yes.
Is there a lot of, you can, and probably now, but what you can see coming?
Yes,
because we're in one of those times, right? We're at the top of it.
Typically, during busy times, and you only want as much work as you can manage yourself. If it gets beyond that, you start employing many others.
Yes,
they may not be quite as reputable. You've only got to have a crew member upset one of the clientele, or trample a garden bed or something like that.
Oh,
and
yes.
not clean up after them being disrespectful the way they speak.
The rose bush has been in the family for 100 years.
Yeah, and well, the culmination of that is when the builder puts his hand out for his last payment because they're not happy to part with it. There's issues.
Clunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quality. People going faster and harder.
Yeah. So harder, faster, quality work drops. So then your new business, let's talk about that. So how's this going to help people in real estate? So let's look at it from a consumer's point of view. So
Yes.
Joan and Darby their builders come in, they've got themselves into a bit of a spot with the builder because things aren't quite as they should be. So how is it that you can best help them in their situation?
Yes.
It's probably not just financially as well, but also to steer them in the right direction to get the project finished.
Yeah, it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, really. And, the mum and dad or the homeowners have got a type of home in mind, their dream home. However, then they may go and select a property with a great view. However, the two aren't compatible. And what needs to be done in the process is the prospective clients need to sit down and have a bit of a yarn with the old builder.
Yes.
And talk about compatibility. Will this fit there? And it may well fit on the block. However,
So compatibility, we're talking about compatibility for the block, and we're also talking
Yes.
compatibility for the builder?
yes, the design of the dwelling, you can fit on it any block. However, the site costs may be astronomical. To excavation, retaining, drainage, and so forth.
Yeah. Well, you and I have walked onto a couple of sites, and one of the things that's impressed me most about you is when we rock straight up on the site, I can already see your eye moving from left to right, and you've actually already sized it up, topography and the like, just where water's going to fall. I think it's a pretty an amazing talent you've got, actually.
You're right on the pulse there, Craig, because what an experienced builder's looking for on a site, he's looking for the services, the power, the gas, the sewer, the stormwater drainage, the lay of the land, any wet spots in adjoining blocks and so forth. Other than not particularly the view and so forth. So compatibility of the site conditions.
Yeah, site conditions. Yeah, great choice of words.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say Joan and Darby have selected the builder. We're building they're away, they're building. All of a sudden, we turn a corner. Joan and Darby realise that things aren't going up to plan with their builder. They're not necessarily happy with what's going on in the building. Where does my expert come in?
Well, typically, if you were to look at a project builder where the main aim of a project builder is to come along and create a level pad to put a level concrete slab on, then when the owner comes back for their first site inspection a month later and horrified to find that the nice sloping block has been excavated deeply down into an existing drainage system.
That would hurt.
That would really hurt. They don't realize, because they're not the experts and they haven't sat down with the builder and had it explained to them. It's really all about the bottom line, and they do achieve the lowest price, but at a cost, unfortunately.
At a cost to the owner.
At a cost.
So then let's say, okay, so Joan and Darby now, things are going well with the builder. We need to separate ourselves from the builder, and now we're looking to engage your services to get compensation or reparation back so that we can actually reset ourselves and go again. So just tell us a bit about that process.
Well, the process begins with a discussion between the consumer and the builder. Once that starts breaking down, the consumer may well head to fair trading and make a complaint about the builder, who won't repair works to a tradesman-like standard, and then look at defects and so forth. And unfortunately, when the heads butt and they don't reach agreement, the two of them, and then gets out of fair trading hands, heading for NCAT into the New South Wales court system. And once it enters that, you've got an applicant and a respondent. It becomes very time-consuming and an expensive process.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the process. And so Joan and Darby have engaged your services now. What does it look like for them so that we can get a bit of a reset and keep going?
Okay, well, if Darby and Joan were the applicant in the process, against the builder, then there'd be a log of claims that could only be made as per the Australian standards and the National Construction Code of, substandard workmanship and so forth. Because often in these matters, the builder truly believes in his own mind that he has done a quality job.
I can see that.
Yeah, where in fact it's just not the case. The problem is when someone's doing something for many, many years, it just becomes the norm. And often they do get away with it and pick up momentum, and eventually they're going to come up against the wrong client that has got an eye for quality and so forth.
Yes, I understand that. So Darby and Joan, I'm saying Joan and Darby and Joan.
Okay.
So they've now sort of said, okay, Ben, we really want to move on from this builder and get to the other one. What are the steps looks like for us when we get into to NCAP? What are our... Is it an expensive process? Is it the associated cost with it, or is it something that we try and get in and do some sort of mediation beforehand before we get to that? Because things can start getting expensive once you get too far down that rabbit hole. Even though I could argue it's probably cheaper than letting the builder finish a house that's never going to be right.
Yeah, that's correct. There is a mediation process where you can sit down together in the courtrooms and try and work it out. Quite often people are set in their ways. Unfortunately, the consumer has a lack of understanding of building terminology, what they thought they were going to get and what they actually got.
Of course, yes.
So sometimes it may well be that when you've got an expert witness who's got all the documentation, the plans, specifications, basics and so forth, that they may have gone off half-cocked, the owner, and they need the regulations spelled out.
Because the builder is actually in the right.
He could be in the right.
So it's actually two-way street.
So there's two words there. There's the interpretation and expectations. So
they're two very different words, aren't they?
Yeah, because the builder is supposedly an expert in his trade, but what the builder could give to a consumer is a list of everything they are getting. However, they didn't give them a list of all the things they're not getting.
Ah, right.
So that's the gap that forms for someone that's a bit shifty.
That could be a big gap, Ben.
A big gap to operate within all the things that they didn't tell someone they're not getting.
Yeah.
And they are, more often than not, all the things that the consumer thought they were getting, they're not getting. That's when the problems start.
I can see the disparity there. Absolutely, we can. Absolutely. So then your role is to try and get everybody in a place of mediation where we can get a nice, harmonious outcome would be the ideal.
Yep.
And if not, what does it look like for an exit for both parties?
Well,
or what does it look like for you to stay together?
Yeah, no, you're right on the focus of it there. So the first thing an expert witness building consultant would make aware to the people and the builder that neither party's going to get 100% of what they want or believe is correct. So there's got to be a bit of negotiation there.
Absolutely. Yeah, great word, negotiation.
Yeah. And usually in those negotiations, the person negotiating that's offering something is offering something that means that's going to cost them the least.
Yes.
And offer the most value to the other party.
Right. I understand that. So then you decode that so that there's actually a happy medium in there.
Yes. It's usually, more often than not, comes down, the most important words are scope of works. So the scope of works has got to adequately describe what the builder is doing. Sometimes the builder will use less words than what are required to describe what he's going to do in the hope that there may be some leeway there on when people go, oh, where's my extra electrical circuit and metering? And they go, well, it's not written on the quote, therefore you're not getting it. And the owner and the building expert might say, well, it's mandatory to have an electrical meter in the circuit because you can't have a operational house without it. So in cases like that, you've got to be pragmatic. You've got to make decisions that are going to work and that are achievable.
So tell me, Ben, what's the future hold?
Well, people have always got to be mindful that there's 3 needs in the lives of a human.
Oh, yeah, what are they?
Food, clothing and shelter.
Yeah.
And I always put both hands up with inverted commas on 2 fingers on each hand and go, hey, we're in the shelter business.
Yes.
Next time you've got a set on your builder, remember that if it wasn't for him, you might still be living in a cave somewhere. So everyone needs to treat everyone with the due respect.
Yes, they do.
Because most builders just want to uphold a high standard of integrity in their building work, and most of them are workaholics and just want to get on with it and get a good rapport going with the clients, and they don't mind doing a bit of extra work, like we'll oil hinges and adjust little things. We even made a dog kennel for a bloke once because he was a nice bloke. The dog wasn't so nice, but you've got to be and then of course you got, apart from your 3 needs, food, clothing and shelter, once you've adequately addressed those with your shelter, your building, then you can look at your wants. You want the pink door, you want the gold taps, you want that, but there's often got to be a separate budget for the wants.
From the needs, yeah. Absolutely.
Because otherwise you might find that you can't afford to buy the property.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to lump your needs and your wants all in together. There's always 2 parties in any agreement. So you got the homeowner, consumer, and you got the builder or all the trades or what have you. And people have got to be mindful that if you're just going to be driven by dollars and snap up the lowest price as quick as you can, well, often those consumers are almost as much to blame as the shonky tradesman.
Because one thing I've learned about that, Ben, of the 3 quotes from the cheapest to the most expensive, if you take the cheapest, by the time you get back to it, you should have taken the most expensive because it actually cost you more than that.
You're dead right about that, Craig. And what I always used to do was ask people not to go straight to the back page and look at the price. What I wanted to tell them and explain to them was what they're actually getting for their money. So, but what I do now, I actually put my price on the front page so they see the price first and get that out of the way. And that's very satisfying for the people. And then I'm also able to demonstrate how much the taxman's making out of the deal. Of course. The builder's just getting the net amount. And then once they get that price out of the way, and then we continue on to tell them actually what they're getting for their money, which is the important thing. And the important thing is, will this satisfy your needs?
Otherwise, we're going to end up with my expert consultant.
Otherwise, that is correct. And you don't want that to happen. You're better off to consult an expert before you start.
And the number 1 takeaway?
And the expert can be your, old Ben the Builder. He's 68 years of age. He's been in the game all his life. And he's to be trusted and, consulted on the fit of the design and the home. There again, what you need. What the builder wants to know, what rooms do you need? I don't need so many bedrooms because our children have grown up and moved away. We need leisure areas, and then we can take advantage of the rising sun and the breeze. And, a good builder will get your house breathing with you. That's the main thing. He'll triage it like a surgeon or a paramedic at the scene of an accident. So the most important person is the person that's not breathing, because they've got 2 minutes. If you're bleeding and screaming, they'll leave you because you're doing fine.
Make sure you head over to my YouTube channel, Craig Fisher Real Estate Agent, or join me on my socials at Craig Fisher Official. That was Robert Dunstan, aka Ben the Builder, my building expert consultant. Whether you're undertaking a brand new build, an extension or making structural alterations to your home, it's always best to seek a professional's advice first. With more than 40 years in the construction industry, Robert recognises that all projects are unique, each having their own quirks and mishaps, no matter how well they're planned. Let Robert show you what to consider and prepare for during your build and how to deal with any issues that may arise. To discover more about how Robert Dunstan at My Building Expert Consultant, visit www.expertbuildingconsultant.com.
Let me introduce Craig's number one takeaway.
Okay, my number one takeaway from this episode. Make sure your building consultant is an independent expert. Sit down and talk with them and have a strong understanding from the get-go. That way expectations and outcomes are in alignment and holistic over the whole building project. Thanks for tuning in to the Let Me Introduce podcast. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or give me a call or ask me on your preferred communication platform. Till next time, let me introduce real people, real community, real estate agents, your host, Craig Fisher.